This is a 2016 Land Rover Discovery Sport. This is the HSE Luxury model, and in this video I'm going to show you how to replace the front brakes. These are the tools you'll need. This is an 11mm hex. This is for the pins that the caliper rides on. A T50 Torx. This is for the rotor, the screw that attaches the rotor to the hub, and then a 15mm, which is the screw that attaches the caliper carrier to the hub. You'll need various ratchets, maybe even a breaker bar, a torque wrench, a tool to compress the piston back into the caliper, a big flathead screwdriver, possibly a pry bar, 21mm for the lug nuts, and then brake system grease and brake parts cleaner. I'm using new Brembo pads and using new Brembo rotors. I typically on this car will always replace the rotors. I don't ever turn them. You could look into the specs on these, but I believe it's 30mm new, 28mm discard. So by the time you use them once, you're down to 29 and then turn them, and you're basically at the discard point if you turn them. And I think Land Rover says you're not supposed to turn them because they are so thin. I don't know. But anyways, I use new rotors every time. I've lifted the Disco Sport up with my floor jack. It's now on a jack stand. The driver's side has the wear sensor. The passenger side does not have a wear sensor. If you've tripped the wear sensor, you'll need to replace it. I have not tripped it, so I do not need to replace it. So I'm just going to take it off and put it over there. We need to take off this clippy springy thing. I'm going to use my screwdriver, and I'm just going to work him around, kind of wiggle a little bit with him. Like so. Now we need to remove the caliper guide pins, and they have a cover back here. So I'm going to use a screwdriver, just kind of plop him off. There's one down there as well. The 11mm hex is right here. That's the pin. And then while we're back here, that is the 15mm that has the caliper carrier. These pins should not be too tight. They're only, I believe, it's 25 foot-pounds is what the torque setting is on these guys, so they shouldn't be too difficult. Oh yeah, that's nice and loose. Okay. I use a 5-gallon bucket to support this, and it seems to work pretty nice. The inboard brake pad has clips on it, so they snap in there. But oops, we kind of got ahead of ourselves. We need to put him back in. Kind of got ahead of ourselves. Put him back in. Now we need to compress. We need to compress that piston. Now we can take that apart. Need to remove this pin because we're gonna clean these guys and clean inside there and clean that. I'm pretty fortunate, and where we live, it doesn't get really nasty here. If you live in a rough winter environment, you're going to probably have a little bit more difficulty cleaning everything. Caliper carrier, this is your 15 mil. And you know what, while it's on there, let's take him off. While it's sitting there, let's just go ahead and clean that up a little bit. And the last thing to come off is the new rotor going on. They want this torx screw torqued to 25, 26 foot-pounds with my highly calibrated torque wrench. That's about right. Now it's time to put the carrier back on. I believe Land Rover wants you to put new screws on every time you do a brake job. I'm gonna let you decide if you want to do that. The carrier screws are supposed to be torqued to 81 foot-pounds plus 100 and I believe it's 110 or 120 degrees. I don't have a degree meter on my torque wrench, so I'm going to go to 81 foot-pounds and then a little bit over. If you have any questions about that, I would recommend researching and finding that out for certain. Don't trust me. I'm now greasing up all the surfaces that things ride on or touch each other. I'm not using a lot of grease. It's just a little bit. These pins need a little bit of grease. That's actually too much. That's not too much, it's fine. Be sure not to get grease onto the threads, because that may change your torque a little bit. You'll over torque them. I don't know if that really matters though, because you're only going to 25 foot-pounds. So, but as a rule, if you add grease to a thread, it makes things move smoother. So therefore, when you torque it, you're actually moving it more than it should be. Just a little fun fact. New pads on. And now we just put the caliper back on. Whoop. Go. Oh, before we forget, put him on. Go. Torque these to 25 foot-pounds, which is not very much. Now we got to put the caps back on to cover up those pins. The springy dude, he goes in here. Now there is a ridge that he sits underneath, so you want to make sure that he's fully set underneath there. So it's going to look like that. Okay, he's set in there. Now you'll put on the wheel. 103 foot-pounds is that lug nut torque setting. Before you start the vehicle, you're going to want to take the slack out of the brakes. So open it up, hop in, pump the brakes a little bit, you'll take out the slack. And typically what I do when I'm doing a brake job is I'll do one side, take the slack out, then do the other side. That way there's less chance of pushing over on the brake fluid reservoir. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to help you out. I'll put a link in the description on where you can get parts and tools if you need them. That 11mm is the tricky one. I didn't have that before I got this car. So, have a great day.